Well, if you ever find an orphaned critter in your backyard, our first instinct may be to try to help.
But just because we find them doesn't mean they need help. U of I Vet Med, they're joining us, our wildlife medical clinic. They've got some tips on what to do if you find an orphaned critter. And it looks like you may have found a few. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm usually not an opossum fan when they're big, but those are kind of adorable.
Yeah, they are adorable. They're so baby.
So tell us who we have here.
Yeah, so these are two of our opossums that are currently in rehab. They presented to us just a couple days ago. Their mom, unfortunately, was found deceased, and they were found in her pouch. So they are with us. They were treated for some dehydration, and then shortly they'll be sent off to a rehabber and eventually released back into the wild.
I see some like colored markings on their heads. Is there a purpose for that? Is that something that you guys put on them? Or
yes.
Okay.
Yep. So we put those markings on them when they come into the clinic. Typically we get litters of like 10 to 11 opossums at a time, but this just helps us give them like individual markings so that we can keep track of them, make sure they're gaining weight like we want them to, and identify their specific problems and treat them individually.
Okay, now that picture there, now that's a little less cute. That's a little scary. So you said the mom was deceased. How would you know to look in a deceased opossum's pouch for babies? Like,
So
I would just think, oh, that's unfortunate.
It's actually quite common. We get a lot of them, concerned citizens that are, they really like possums, so they check them. And this time of year, unfortunately, a lot of them do have full pouches full of babies. So,
So what's the importance of making sure these babies are in your care right now? What's that? What's the importance of that?
Yeah, so every baby that we get tons of babies each season, from squirrels to bunnies to raccoons to possums, and the really important thing about when you find an injured baby or an orphan baby, bringing them to a wildlife rehabber or a medical clinic like us right away is to make sure that they get the proper nutrition. These guys get fed specific diets, and they have to be fed a specific way to prevent them from aspirating any of their formula. And then also, you know, some of the babies can have injuries as well, so making sure that they get the medical care that they need, any medications, etc., is always a good thing.
Well, it seems like spring is like prime little baby critter season. We just saw some photos there. I'm guessing those were baby bunnies. Oh, there's a little raccoon. So how do we know when they are orphaned and when mom is maybe still around?
right, so a lot of the times mom is around and they might be wandering, just kind of stretching their legs. For possums, you would know because they should always be on mom. So if you see a possum off that is less than 8 inches, it probably needs help. For other critters, if they're like cold, they seem sick, a lot of them, because they're babies, they don't have that fear of humans yet too, so if you approach, like them running off wouldn't necessarily be a cue. So I'd be looking for like either insects on them, they're cold, lethargic, or you see a visible injury on them as well. So
if you see any of those things, that is kind of an good to go to be able to help. But how do you, one, like capture the animal and then transport it? I would have no idea where to begin on that.
Yeah, it depends on the species. Typically, a lot of our babies are pretty easy to capture. Normally, we recommend at least having, you know, some garden gloves on if you're attempting to capture a baby animal, and also like a towel or a blanket that you're able to kind of drape over them, scoop them up, and then place them into a box and bring them to us. But it obviously depends on the species, so we always recommend if anyone does find a baby in distress or that they believe they need to transport to us, to just give us a call or look on our website and see if you need to bring it in to someone.
Do we have an idea how old these little babies are?
Yeah, so these guys are probably about 2.5, maybe to 3 months in age. They grow pretty slowly, being marsupials.
Are they blind?
They are not blind.
Oh, okay.
Got that myth out of the way.
Yeah, they don't have the best eyesight, for sure, but
well, his little eyes,
can see.
They just look like they're not looking at me. Like he can't see me.
Oh, fixated on other things. Okay, so if someone sees like maybe a nest of some sort or babies, but they don't maybe seem like they're in distress, it's best to leave it if possible. Okay.
Yep.
That's a good thing to know.
Well, yeah, and here's our tips right there. Leave them alone, bring them in, and parents are usually pretty close by. What about deer?
Yeah, so deer and rabbits, the parents only come about like twice a day to feed them. And deer babies just hide in like grass, or sometimes they're right out in the open. So if you do see that and they're in danger of like a dog or a car coming, you can kind of move them to the side, tuck them in a bush or something like that. But other than that, I would not remove them from the area, because chances are mom is close by feeding and she's got an eye on them. She's just not going to come near when you're looking at them and standing near them. So,
Yeah.
So I'm guessing this is the busy season for the Wildlife Medical Clinic.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, we know what to do if we find those babies. I love that our first instinct is to what to help. I think that's a good thing, but it's knowing when to help versus, okay, maybe leave them alone.
Yep, and we're always available. If people have questions, feel free to call, and we have an email that they can send questions to as well, and we try and answer them as quickly as possible. But yeah.
Well, wonderful. Well, we hope that they are well on their way to getting back out into the wild. Yes. Okay.
That was so genuine, Heather.
Well, as he's like sniffing the air with like his little face. Oh my
Okay,
word.
these guys are cute. There's no denying it. All right. Well, for more details or a little bit of a review of what we just chatted about, you can find it on our website after today's show.